but she is a malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plays the victim.
Harry just can't give her anything else anymore. He served his purpose. His purpose is over.
He was born into what looked like a perfect fairy tale, the charming golden-haired prince who captured hearts across the world. Every little smile, every wave, it all seemed so effortless, so genuine. But now, that same prince feels like a shadow of the man he once was. It's as if the sparkle that made him Prince Harry has quietly faded behind someone else's story. Something changed, not on the surface, but deep within. Something invisible, unsettling, and honestly, a little heartbreaking.
She will take her royal kids, who can still go by prince and princess, and find the billion.
That bright, contagious smile that used to light up every room, it now looks forced, practiced, almost painful. The glimmer in his eyes that once radiated mischief and joy, gone. The man who once laughed in the face of royal rules, who joked, rebelled, and lived freely, now seems careful, hesitant, afraid to speak unless given permission.
And I think he's slipped from what was the natural person who everyone in Britain loved and saw the smiling.
What really happened to Prince Harry? How did the world's most rebellious royal, the soldier, the fun-loving humanitarian, free-spirited icon turn into the quiet, cautious figure we see today? Some say it's love, others call it transformation, but experts, they're calling it something much darker. Something that doesn't just change a man, it consumes him.
The woman who destroyed her in-laws' family, whose own family doesn't like her, whose the in-laws obviously don't like her, the public doesn't like her.
Yes, the signs are chilling, the same red flag psychologists call narcissistic. And once you start connecting the dots, the isolation, the emotional exhaustion, the complete shift in personality, the truth behind Harry's story becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't a royal love story gone wrong. It's a slow, step-by-step guide on how even the strongest souls can be broken down until they forget who they are.
It was planned from the beginning. She denied being interested in the royal family, which she totally was. I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince Harry on it.
Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll see the 10 shocking signs that show Prince Harry might not be living a dream, but surviving something much more dangerous: emotional control disguised as devotion. Once you spot it, you'll never see those royal smiles the same way again. It doesn't start with fights or drama. It begins quietly with subtle isolation. At first, it looks like setting boundaries. Then it becomes distance. And finally, loneliness. For Harry, that loneliness started when his entire world began orbiting around one person. Friends who used to fill his days with laughter slowly faded away, one by one gone.
He's abandoned family, country, and all his friends to be with this woman. He'll want to go home.
All right, a bold prediction for the year ahead.
Old army mates, wedding guests, even long-trusted royal aides all mysteriously vanished from his life, replaced by new faces loyal not to Harry, but to the new power dynamic taking over.
All my life, and then Oprah Winfrey had met them once. She was a guest. The Clooneys, the guests. I mean, never met them before, but they were the guests. And, I thought to myself, it's all showbiz.
From the outside, it looked like freedom, a man breaking free from the palace, finally living life on his own terms. But real freedom doesn't mean cutting everyone out. Behind the headlines of privacy and new beginnings, whispers began spreading, quiet ones, about manipulation and control, cloaked in the language of love.
I truly believe that when he met Meghan, she whispered into his ear, a 36-year-old mature woman whispered into his ear, "Harry, you and I could change the world."
Experts who study toxic relationships call this the first phase of control dependency. It starts when you're told, "No one understands you, only I do." Slowly, you start to believe it, and that's how it begins. Harry, once surrounded by comrades, laughter, and royal duty, became an island, emotionally isolated, even when surrounded by people.
Harry came from this very busy world of the royal family with lots to do. Even in his spare time, he could play polo and do whatever he wanted.
Even his bond with William, once unbreakable, began to fracture.
Even his once unbreakable bond with William began to crack, and the world could see it.
When William married Kate, I think the relationship inevitably changed slightly, as sibling relationships always do when a third person comes into it.
We all watched those interviews, the cold distance, the emotional confessions. But what most people missed was the underlying pattern, a classic psychological play, shrinking someone's circle until only one voice matters. It's not anger, it's strategy, a soft, calculated control that looks like care. By the time the move to California happened, the transformation was complete. No brother, no father, no palace, just the illusion of choice. The saddest part? Victims of this kind of manipulation rarely realize they're trapped. At first, it feels like safety, like peace. Until, one day, you look up, and the walls are closing in. Harry's change didn't happen overnight. It crept in like a slow, spreading shadow. The fun-loving prince who used to giggle through royal duties now looks like a man who weighs every word, every move, Every breath, that spark, that cheeky, rebellious charm seems replaced by caution, by fear. And the one person whose approval he seems to crave the most is Meghan. Observers noticed it early on. The natural confidence that once defined Harry began to fade after their marriage. At public events, Meghan always seems to take the lead. She speaks first, guides the narrative, even interrupts him mid-sentence. It's subtle but powerful. Experts call it dominance by interruption, a quiet way to remind everyone who truly holds control. And over time, Harry's body language told the story his words couldn't. Shoulders drawn in, eyes lowered, always glancing toward Meghan before answering. The man who once commanded crowds now seems to seek silent approval before every word. Love can change people, yes, but this doesn't look like love's growth. It looks like submission. Meghan's influence hasn't just changed his habits, it's reshaped his entire personality, molding him into someone who fits her world, not his. Friends close to the couple began whispering the same thing, that Harry no longer seemed relaxed or spontaneous. They described him as guarded, nervous, tense, almost like he was walking on eggshells. The easygoing charm that once made him the world's favorite royal? Gone. In its place, anxiety, hesitation, and emotional exhaustion. And here's the painful truth. When someone's confidence fades and compliance takes over, that's not by accident. That's control perfectly disguised as protection. While Meghan publicly presents herself as Harry's rescuer, the woman who freed him from royal chains, she's also rewritten who he's allowed to be. The free spirit, the soldier, the mischievous prince, replaced by a quieter, edited version. Once, Harry spoke with raw emotion and authenticity. Now, every word sounds rehearsed, almost like he's reading from a script carefully crafted by someone else. Even in joint interviews, his natural humor is gone. Instead, he mirrors her phrases, her rhythm, her opinions. It's eerie. The man who once laughed about royal formality now defends it like a press secretary. Meghan, with her polished Hollywood media instincts, has mastered the art of controlling the narrative. And under her influence, Harry's truth, his real voice, has been rewritten line by line, until even he might not know where his story ends and hers begins. Just look at Spare, his memoir. Page after page reads like it's dripping with resentment directed at his family, his father, even his brother. But the tone, the bitterness, it doesn't sound like him. It feels curated, amplified, like someone else's pen was guiding the emotion behind it. And if you read between the lines, Meghan's influence is undeniable. The same dramatized storytelling, the same victim narrative, the same tone that frames her as the misunderstood heroine and Harry as her wounded knight. Royal insiders have whispered that Meghan encouraged those revelations not as a path to healing, but as strategy. Every confession, every private moment shared became valuable currency. To her, vulnerability wasn't intimacy, it was marketing. And the world didn't realize that the prince's pain had become her greatest publicity weapon. Harry's interviews started to sound repetitive. Same themes, same language, same structure. It's not coincidence. It's conditioning. This is how psychological control works. You start echoing someone until your own voice is gone. And for Harry, that voice, the one that once spoke freely about service, brotherhood, and duty, now only seems to exist if it aligns with Meghan's script. The saddest part? You can see it. You can see it in every glance he gives her during public appearances, like he's checking, silently asking, "Was that okay?" Meghan, with her sharp understanding of media optics, doesn't need to shout or demand. Her influence lies in subtle gestures, a touch, a correction, a glance. It's control without confrontation. A masterclass in power disguised as love. She's turned a prince's life into a Hollywood production where she's the lead, the director, and the writer. And Harry? He's the supporting role, stuck playing a character that's nothing like himself. As royal experts put it, Meghan hasn't just changed Harry's choices, she's rewritten his identity. His credibility, once built on honor and authenticity, now revolves around her narrative. What was once a family matter has been reframed into a tale of persecution and liberation. And tragically, he believes it. That's the hallmark of deep manipulation, when you no longer realize your story has been rewritten by someone else's hand. Meghan has built what looks like a brand, and Harry is her emotional anchor, her proof, her shield. Together, they've sold the image of defiance and independence, but what it really looks like is dependency, her vision, her rules, her spotlight. Behind the cameras, insiders describe her as decisive, commanding, and strategic, always in control. Every interview, every deal, every public appearance carries her signature precision. From Netflix to Spotify to magazine spreads, all filtered through her lens of power and publicity. Harry's emotional energy is now completely spent defending her image, and the more he does, the deeper he sinks. It's a heartbreaking cycle. Protect, explain, repeat. Until there's nothing left to protect except her reputation. As psychologists explain, this is the final phase of narcissistic control erasure. Bit by bit, your individuality dissolves until the scars. Person you once were becomes unrecognizable. That's exactly what's happened to Harry. The mischievous, open, carefree prince has been replaced by a cautious, edited version molded by someone else's expectations. Even his appearance has changed, softer, more polished, stripped of that rugged authenticity that once made him so relatable. Every trace of spontaneity, of wild laughter, of genuine rebellion gone. And yet, behind those careful smiles, you can still catch flickers of the real Harry, a nervous laugh here, a distant stare there, glimpses of a man who remembers who he used to be. But each time he resurfaces, Meghan's presence pulls him back into line, not with anger, but with a look, That look, the silent command that says, stay in character, that's not love. That's conditioning. Those close to the couple whisper that Harry lives in constant internal conflict, torn between his loyalty to her and his fading sense of self. Deep down, he knows. He's changed. He knows this version of himself isn't the one he used to be. But every time he tries to reclaim his voice, he risks losing her approval, the one thing he's been trained to never upset. Meghan has crafted a paradox, convincing him that freedom means obedience and love means surrender. It's psychological quicksand. The more he fights, the deeper he sinks. When he appears in public, you can almost read it in his eyes, a man silently pleading for space while his lips keep defending the narrative he's trapped in. That's emotional captivity, and Meghan thrives on it. The more uncertain he becomes, the more powerful she feels. At this point, Harry's reality seems rewritten. Every path that could lead him back to himself has been quietly blocked by guilt. She's made him believe that reclaiming his independence would be betrayal. And that's how control works best, not through threats, but through love that punishes independence. In the end, what we're witnessing isn't just a royal love story. It's the slow unraveling of a man once full of life, laughter, and rebellion. A prince who once had the world at his feet, now quietly fading in someone else's spotlight. Prince Harry's transformation isn't romance. It's a warning, a reminder that control doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, I love you, while tightening its grip. Meghan didn't just enter his world, she rebuilt it, brick by brick, until the cage felt like comfort and the silence felt like safety. The prince who once laughed freely now smiles for cameras while quietly fighting for air. Somewhere, deep inside, the real Harry the soldier, the brother, the dreamer, still exists. But whether he ever finds his way back depends on one thing, recognizing that true love doesn't control, isolate, or rewrite you. It sets you free. Until that day comes, the world will keep watching not the fairy tale, but the tragedy of a prince lost in someone else's story.